Valid source?
Valid source? We investigate.
Valid source?
That's a valid source.
Hi guys, welcome to Valid Source.
Oh.
Valid Source?
Valid source.
Yeah.
It is a podcast all about the things that you have thought of most, but have maybe not found the answers to the questions that you have.
Yeah, have you seen maybe a post where you're like, this can't be true, and didn't have time to Google it? Well, we did that for you.
You were thinking it.
We said it.
Hi, I'm Harley, and I'm leading today's case.
Ooh.
And this is Ashley.
Hi everyone.
Ashley, I have a question for you.
What's up?
Okay, so imagine you're walking down the street in the clothes that you're wearing today, 100 years ago.
Okay, I can't even imagine it because I know that's not true.
Okay, well,
I can't, if I were to travel
yeah,
in time
mm-hmm.
to 100 years ago, everyone's going to look at me like, what is she wearing? I'd probably even offend people.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, now think about 100 years into the future.
I'm gonna be looking like confused to people. They're gonna be like, "What is wrong with her?" Probably wouldn't offend, but
Probably
definitely
not.
would stick out.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so today's topic is generational beauty standards in the fashion industry. So,
I'm very interested in this.
I've always been interested in the fashion industry and kind of where trends come from and things like that. So we're gonna get into it.
Let's dive in.
All right. We're not here to criticize or defend any types of trends that are out there. No. Some are obviously better than others.
I've made fun of Harley though.
Definitely made fun of me. Mesh shirts are in right now.
Oh, they are.
And Ashley does not appreciate the mesh shirt.
I also didn't appreciate the pants with a bunch of holes in them. I feel like did we pay full price?
This is like what parents say to their children.
I know, I am a parent, so I have to live up to it.
Okay. This is Kita, and this is Brim. They're also joining us on this fashion talk.
Oh, Kita probably has a lot of things to add to this conversation about fashion today.
She wears a necklace always. All right. So, historically, beauty standards and fashion silhouettes tend to move in sync. We can look at early history, right?
Okay.
So, in the Renaissance, okay, can you even think of what the Renaissance maybe looked like?
I'm thinking big dresses for the women.
Uh-huh.
And I can't really think of the men because I'm thinking maybe Bridgerton kind of styles.
Yes.
Okay,
so this actually comes with social norms.
Okay.
All right. So fuller bodies were more acceptable back then. It was seen as a sign of wealth because you were able to eat. And you were healthy because you were able to eat. You weren't burdened with famine and all that stuff. Oh,
preach.
Okay. Clothing was emphasized in volume because they were also trying to bring attention to the fabrics that they were using.
Oh.
So silks and things like that, they used a lot of because it also showed signs of wealth. Then you go to the 1920s, all right? We're getting into the flapper era of fashion. So a lot less clothing.
Okay.
Boxier styles. Women were a lot thinner. That's kind of where money was a little bit tighter. That's when a lot of stuff in history was going down with the Great Depression and things like that.
So then we don't have silk anymore.
We have silk, but it's not used as a symbol of fashion and status.
Okay.
Yeah. The 1950s then roll around, right? And we're highlighting the hourglass figure with Marilyn Monroe.
Ooh.
And we're basically trying to like show off all of our curves, right?
Okay.
So cinched waists and full skirts. Very interesting. We're starting to see the revolution.
Where we're getting to today, kind of.
Yeah. We're starting to see the revolution of women. Women's rights are starting to come through.
So we're wearing pants.
We're wearing pants.
We wear the pants. Also, can I go back a little bit, or are you gonna go back later?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm thinking about, about the 1920s, maybe. That kind of, those dresses. First of all, I know that like not everyone was able to wear them, right? But could you imagine like if you were like, I don't know, like in the rich or statuses and are wearing these dresses? I really think they're beautiful, but that must have sucked.
Are you talking about the Renaissance dresses?
I think so. Yeah, like the more that. Yeah, during that time, oh my gosh, like the Bridgerton style is what I'm thinking of. It's like every time I look at these girls with them, I'm like, oh my god, how beautiful. Like, I would love to wear one maybe for like an hour or two without heels.
Yeah, but you have to think you're being cinched in.
Ooh.
It brings me back to, did you ever see Pirates of the Caribbean? Like the first one? And they're cinching Elizabeth in and she can't breathe and ends up fainting. Okay, so that's kind of like...
That's crazy, though, that we had to wear all of this stuff. And
yeah, and then, like, what were the men doing? They clearly weren't too concerned.
No.
All right.
They're about the same now, too. Like, it's just pants and a shirt.
You know what I didn't dive into that I kind of wish I had? The, like, revolution of, like, men, because men started wigs, right?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and like high heels, men started wearing high heels before women did. So maybe that'll be like another episode.
That's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, that should be.
And makeup.
That's interesting. Who started?
I think men started wearing makeup.
That would be
as like powder.
Well.
I'm not sure. I will have.
Is
that a valid source?
If you look at definitely not a valid source. But like if you look at like George Washington kind of pictures, doesn't it look like he has blush?
Yes.
And maybe even powder?
Honestly, maybe it's to symbolize like health, like and stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure. But that is a good thing to maybe look into.
And then how did it switch? Like that would be really interesting to find out too. Like how did we go from, okay, you guys are wearing the wigs and the heels, and now it's like, let's have women do this instead.
Yeah. Okay, so the 1990s. This is around our era of clothing and status. We started to favorite minimalistic, extreme thinness. This is kind of relating back to America's Next Top Model.
I was thinking that right now.
Where heroin chic was the look.
Okay.
So you want to be very thin, and then like runway was taking off. All of the fashion industry was kind of focusing their efforts on the thin models. Nothing was above a size 2. And
I don't think back in the day, I don't think I ever realized how skinny that was.
I did, because I was, as a child, not even that size. I don't think
it ever hit me like it did when I saw those documentaries. When I saw the documentaries, I was like, whoa! But back in the day, I don't think I ever had a feeling like that about that. It just felt like that's the standard and that's what it has to be.
The pattern is consistent, right? Fashion doesn't just decorate our body, it defines our bodies and what we like to emphasize.
Okay.
So, what does society value and what do the trends reflect? What?
Boobs.
Okay, so there was a definite time where boobs were emphasized.
Free the nipple. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, well that came later.
I know, but I'm thinking like, because you said Marilyn Monroe. And she was very,
Yeah.
There are boobs.
Yeah. She had
Okay.
the hourglass
Yeah.
figure. But that does also bring up a good point. Plastic surgery came into play at some point, right?
Mhm.
And then boobs were the main focus for a while.
Okay.
Now we're starting in this generation to see a lot of filler in the face, lots of lip injections, cheek injections, booty implants. The shift kind of
So it's
changed.
not Kim Kardashian's fault. Or is that about the same time?
It's kind of, I mean, I think the Kardashians had a huge influence.
Okay.
Because they are so mainstream for everyone. Beauty and fashion often mirror cultural values. So even like if you were to look at someone from Africa and they wear those like necklaces that start to stretch their necks.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that's what it was for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't.
You know how they stack those like gold?
Yeah, I've seen like it's like a row of like chain, like a chain kind of, but it's like rows of rows. So they're stretching their necks.
They're stretching their necks.
Oh.
And then don't quote me on
that might make me look confident. Like if I had a.
I think it causes more problems.
Oh, okay, never mind. But wouldn't that like? Could you imagine just having like?
Yeah.
That kind of posture.
Yeah. Okay. That would be rough, I think. But they're also in like ancient Egypt times, they were like flattening head. This is not a valid source.
Okay, not a valid source, but allegedly.
Allegedly, there were some cultures that would elongate their heads.
Okay.
To symbolize like knowledge and stuff like that.
Interesting. So
they would.
So we're pretty stupid right now because we're round.
We're round, yeah.
Okay.
And then I do know in another Asian culture that they would cram their feet into tiny shoes.
I was actually thinking of that as you were saying that. I remember doing a full report for school on how they would fold the toes.
They break your feet multiple times.
Oh my gosh. And then the smaller the foot, the better wife you are, which is insane to me.
Yeah.
These women can barely even walk. It's so sad.
Yeah. So what is beauty?
Yeah.
Well, the standards change depending on the culture and values of the times. So, when wealth was shown through excess fabric and elaborate tailoring, larger silhouettes signified status. Then, when athleticism became very popular, people started wearing tighter fitting clothing. Kardashian era, everyone was in leggings.
Ooh, I love that, like, athletic look. Is it called leisure wear or something like that? Okay, I love that look. I would do that at work if I could. Every day. So, yes, the trends kind of take shape on what is important to the people of the times. So, small pop culture moment. Okay.
Devil Wears Prada, the movie. Have you seen it?
Yep, I love this movie.
Okay, me too. So there's a part where Miranda Priestly, which is Meryl Streep's character, confronts Andy, which is the girl, right? Anne Hathaway. Yeah. Anne Hathaway, if you haven't seen this movie, is kind of not very fashion forward in a very fashion forward industry and she's learning the ropes. Okay, so
can I ask you a off the topic question?
Okay.
Have you seen Ugly Betty?
No, but is it the same?
It's not the same, but she's definitely going into like a fashion world as like she wants to be like a writer, I think, for a magazine, and it's a fashion magazine. So they give her the job, and I think it's really sad because I think it's like a bet kind of thing that they do.
Wow.
So then they give her the job, and of course she's like
rude.
She's not. She doesn't look the part.
Okay.
And she never addresses that until like the very end. So it's very interesting.
Interesting.
She gets bullied quite a bit.
Wow. Miranda Priestley goes to Andy because Andy kind of scoffs at this belt. Okay. They are trying to decide between two belts, and they're both this color. They look identical to Andy. They're not identical.
Okay.
Miranda is like, oh, so you think that this frumpy cerulean sweater that you're wearing is your choice.
Oh.
It's not. Miranda Priestley goes into this long story kind of about like how at one point the fashion designers were looking at cerulean, the color blue.
Okay.
And it became very high fashion. And so it was on the runways, then it went from the runways to magazines, and then it went from magazines to stores, and then department stores, and then it came into a clearance rack where Andy found it.
So there were already people doing what Miranda was doing for her to get to choose the sweater.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it all trickles down.
I don't remember this part. But yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah. So the point is just, it's not just about fashion. It's about how trends are constructed and how most of us participate them without even realizing it. So beauty standards often follow this because they are often looked at in the fashion industry. And then it trickles down. The heroin chic came from the fashion industry. Trickled
and this
down.
Is the legit name?
That's what it is called.
Wow, okay.
Is it correct?
No, it sounds rough.
It's rough. I agree.
Was it called that back then? Or do we call it that now?
I think we call it that now. I don't think it's always been necessarily considered that.
Okay.
It's not a very nice name. But we can even look at it from like low-rise to high-rise jeans. Now, we're starting to see in 2026 the re-emergence of low-waisted jeans, right? Yeah. Low-waisted jeans were very prominent in the early 2000s when heroin chic was very popular.
Yeah, I remember them. Like, everybody would show that, like, bones, like, right under the belly button. Like, that part like needed to be shown. Yeah, the hip. Thank you. I'm like, what the heck are we talking about?
And then we even see it in makeup. So, like, natural makeup versus... Honestly, if you even see the 2016 trends that are going on right now, you know how everyone's kind of like looking back at 2016?
Wasn't it like blue eyeshadow and like, right?
It was very glamorous.
Yes,
makeup.
Like very blue. I remember like silvers.
Lots of glitter, very high contrast.
And like the eyeliners of different colors. And the lip liners. Like,
I don't even know if there was lip liner back then. Like, I think we kind of almost did a nude-ish lip.
Oh, yes. There was a very pale look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not criticizing.
I remember that. I didn't like it. But it's okay. But I also have, back to your cultural statement, I feel like my family, and I'm definitely blaming my grandma here, so... She would be like, oh my God, you look so pale. You look like you're sick. You're dying. If I had, like, no lipstick on, she'd criticize it. So I remember my grandma would be very dramatic about this pale, sick look that I had. And she'd be like, oh my God, you need to put some lipstick on. And to this day, if I'm out without lipstick, I feel like I'm looking dead to everybody else. So I can't look at that without bias because my family
ingrained in
me
you.
Up.
Yeah, they ingrained in you that pale lips is unacceptable.
Yeah, like you're not okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, my makeup has kind of remained the same, I think, throughout the generations. And there was a period of time where everyone was doing very natural looking makeup, where it looked effortless and you had like soap eyebrows. Okay, so you were
soap eyebrows.
Yes.
What is that?
You essentially took like a wax that was like soap,
Okay.
and you would brush your eyebrows up. Okay. I was born in 1995, and I grew up in the early 2000s.
Okay.
Thin eyebrows were very popular.
Yes. Yep.
So growing up then, I overplucked my eyebrows.
Oh, same.
My eyebrows do not grow back.
Me neither.
So I have only partial eyebrows unless I color them in. So the soap eyebrow look was not going to work for me. Natural looking eyebrows don't work. But
or you could get them tattooed.
Which is also another trend.
Let me know if you want to market these, okay?
I could use some too because I really only have like half of my eyebrow.
So half of my eyebrow won't grow either.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, like, I remember it was very popular to have like a thin line, like the thinner the better. And I was definitely in that trend.
Honestly,
and I thought it was looking good.
Yeah. There was a point in time where like it was even better to shave your whole eyebrow off. I never did this.
And draw the line. Yes. I remember this.
I would never do that, but that was a trend.
Yeah. I like my eyebrows this way. I like them a little bit more full.
Yeah. I personally think we can attribute a lot of these trends to the Kardashians.
Really?
If we look at it, okay?
Okay.
When they got popular back in the day, let's just bring it back to when Kim Kardashian came out with her sex tape, okay? It was leaked. Allegedly.
I was going to say not optional.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly leaked.
The fashion that she started with was very prominent to the time. Very glamorous looking makeup, big hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the blue eyeshadow again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then as we started to see her sisters get popularized, specifically Kylie, we can watch the evolution of like the makeup trends. Yes. We went from baking our makeup, which essentially is like putting powder under your eyes and letting it bake, right?
Yep, I remember.
Mm-hmm. And having crazy contour
mm-hmm.
to minimalistic makeup and very nude colors in our fashion.
But who switched? Like, I wonder who switched this. Like, how did...
I think because we're seeing the different generations,
mm-hmm.
I think Kylie made the biggest impact on, like, transitioning it to the more natural. That girl made it look natural. Do we know if it's natural?
I think we know it's not.
I think we know it's not, but the effortless look is definitely
she definitely has that look.
But now we're starting to see the reemergence of, like, more eyeshadow, more eyeliner. We're bringing it back almost to 2016 because of social media and the reemergence of the hashtag 2016.
Oh, okay. I'm definitely not in this. This is not my feed because I have not seen anything about this.
You haven't seen anything about 2016?
Nothing.
Popping up?
Nothing.
Girl, now you're going to.
I get the weird ones.
Okay.
Isn't that funny?
You have a lot of, like, business stuff.
I have a lot of, like, motivational ones.
Yeah, that's not me.
I like that. I like that you could do anything if you just think about it. But that's okay. There's a market for everything.
Yeah, seriously. So we've kind of dived into just the expectations of what fashion can look like in a workplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how your opinions on what's acceptable versus my opinions are acceptable.
We've had disagreements.
I don't think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think it honestly comes with generational stuff
so too. And culture, sometimes religion.
Yeah. But often appearance has been linked to opportunity. right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How you have been told, like, dress for the job you want.
I agree. Yep.
Okay. So professional environments sometimes equate polished looks to competence.
Yes.
Which we can see through some celebrities that doesn't necessarily need to be the case, but that's how we view it.
And I've also I've been in workplaces where people have not. I don't want to say they don't dress well because they don't look. I honestly would be like, you're dressing casual.
Yeah.
But it's so casual that to others is like, this person doesn't care. And that's really sad because I don't think that's the message that person's trying to do. And I'm sure nobody's told them this to their face, but I do think that there is still a stigma.
Yeah.
And it's still a very common thought of all these people thinking like, oh, if you dress casual at work, then you're probably not wanting a bigger job, right? You're not, you don't look as polished. I don't think that's fair, but it's how it is. It's, I think, the generations too. Normally the people that are like at the top are kind of like older. So they probably already have this, cultural and generational thing in their minds.
And then we even see tattoos becoming more prevalent. Oh, that's been a big, huge concern.
That used to be a problem.
And
before
dyed
you
hair.
Get jobs. Yep. They'd be like, you can't show. And people, I remember you had to wear sleeves to cover that. Well, yeah. Okay.
I specifically remember when I got my nose pierced when I was 18.
That was a problem.
My dad was like, you're setting yourself up for failure. Like, people are going to judge you based on that. They're going to look at you and immediately notice it. I have literally changed my nose ring and no one even noticed that I had one until years later.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, laws like the Crown Act, have you heard of this?
No.
In the United States were passed to prevent, yes, the Crown Act was passed to prevent discrimination based on natural hairstyles. So I think this goes back to like...
What?
Yes. Why do we even need a thing for this?
I didn't know hairstyles were protected.
I think this comes down to like how acceptable having polished hair versus like natural hair.
Oh, so this could get into like curly hair, African American like afros and people having. Okay, wow, that's
crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that it affected people like that.
I didn't either.
I wouldn't.
Well, I'm.
But I will say, can I tell you something else that's kind of cultural? So like, my curly hair was something that I was also kind of told for a while, like, oh, you want to have your hair straightened, you want to have like nice straight hair because of that polished look. But like, I have naturally curly hair, and I feel like from family and maybe like external pressures, I kind of felt the need that maybe like curly doesn't look good. So I do feel a lot of pressure to go ahead and straighten it if I have like a job interview, or if I have or if I have like a big meeting, I'll be like, oh, I gotta straighten my hair because this isn't like.
And this is the
isn't that weird?
Yeah, Ashley naturally has like curly-ish hair.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I
didn't
never
think about that.
I never would have thought about it because I have naturally straight hair.
And you heard me today how worried I was. Because it's curly. I let it go.
She felt like she looked crazy.
Yes.
Maybe, like, what?
I've used that. I've also asked my boss before, like, do I look like a crazy Latina today? Because I'm worrying that it's, like, going to grow. Because it grows. This thing has a mind of its own. But today it behaved. It's, like, it looks nice. I'm actually camera ready today. But some days, it, like, poofs up. And then I'm like, I don't look professional. So, like, I shouldn't be here. It's kind of how I feel. Like, like, I look crazy. But I don't. It's natural.
It's natural, and the perception.
And there's laws protecting me.
The Crown Act, girl. Because you're.
Wear that crown.
Yes.
Because I'm a queen. Okay, sorry. I'm done.
So.
I like knowing about this.
Yeah, isn't that kind of fun?
Yes.
So even in like social media, okay, have you seen all the filters that they have that you can add to your face?
Yep, like an Instagram and
Mm-hmm.
Snapchat
started it.
Okay, I have $1 million idea, which I probably shouldn't say on a podcast, but I'm not going to do this, so I might as well say it.
Okay.
Microsoft. So, do you know how sometimes we do like remote work?
Yeah.
Okay, we're not looking cute. We don't have makeup on.
I think they have this.
You think they have a filter for ladies? I'm sorry, for anyone.
You could be anybody.
It could be anybody. But do you think they have a makeup filter?
I think you could probably, if you did some research, I think you could find one. I bet you there's something out there.
Okay, but I think Microsoft needs to add it to Teams.
Yeah, that would help me out.
Like, just be like, hey, it looks like you're working from home today. Want to turn on this filter?
You're looking a little rough.
They have the background.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like, I've been in space. I've been at the beach.
Yeah.
I love them. Love that we can cover, like, the mountain of laundry piling up on my bed.
Mm-hmm.
But if we could also, like, fix my face.
But they have the blur filter.
But it doesn't do what I need it to do. Like, it's not adding that lipstick that I need.
Oh.
Just a lipstick filter. And we can call it Ashley's filter.
I need some eyelashes. So.
There we go. So, that's my $1 million idea.
Okay.
So, if anyone from Microsoft is listening.
Get on that, please.
Take it, man. And give me a little cut. I don't need it all. I'm not greedy. I'll take a few bucks. Take me out to lunch.
A few bucks?
Yeah.
Some burrito tacos. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, but like with Snapchat filters, you can definitely see the evolution of like what we find acceptable, right? Mm-hmm. Big eyeballs.
Oh, yeah. The bigger.
Huge lips.
I didn't need that filter.
I needed a little bit. On the top lip. And then like the really thin nose. That's what we're starting to see in like all of the procedures people are getting done.
Wouldn't it suck? Okay, so you do a procedure, get it very thinned, and then like times change, and then like the thinner is no longer cute, and now we want them thick. Like
this happens time and time again, just like all the people who were getting all of the breast augmentation, and then they got them taken out
because there was
reasons.
Also the health stuff, which was crazy because I don't think they even knew what they were putting in their bodies.
They didn't. I heard something. I don't know. I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard that they were putting cement into people's bodies.
I've heard that about booties, which is insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those procedures have changed over time too. Like, but I know this. I don't know a source for this.
No, we're not allegedly.
Breast augmentation, they used to place the bags like over the muscle.
Oh, yep, I've heard this. Yep.
And now they're placing them under the muscle to look more natural. Mm-hmm. So it's all...
I've also heard like they can leak. And like there's chemicals in
You're supposed to get them redone every 10 years.
Oh, but I don't think people do that.
They don't, and that's why they leak. They wear down.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I don't have any procedures done, so I don't know all of the information.
I'm also got work done. No, I'm kidding. I haven't had any.
But I'm sure there's more qualified people to be talking about this than us. Mm-hmm. Just some things that we've noticed. Yeah. So this philosophy of what beauty is has translated into mental health.
Okay.
We're starting to see the effects that it has on the younger generations because of the mass media. And so we're starting to see only children using filters on their face anytime they post something, which is really sad.
That's not necessary.
I'll be the first to admit that. Like, do I feel pretty if I don't have a filter on?
Oh, I agree. Me neither.
Really. But beauty comes in what's popular in the scene.
But I'll say, like, when I see a woman that consistently does not wear makeup, I'm like, Normally they look beautiful. Like I don't understand. Like you know what I mean? Like I would never be like, oh my God. No, they look beautiful, and I think probably somebody might see us without makeup and be like, what's the fuss? You guys are beautiful as well. Like I think they look good, but it's like weird because like I feel like when I don't wear makeup, I'm like, oh, don't look at me, don't look at me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have just recently started to feel like comfortable enough to go out in public without makeup.
Oh, really?
Which is sad. I'm 30 years old, right?
I only go to the grocery store or like a kid's basketball game without makeup.
I do like Pilates without
that
makeup.
Makes sense. The gym makes sense.
But even if I were to go to a high volume gym, not at freaking 5:30 in the morning, I probably would at least do my eyebrows. Yeah. I might do like mascara or something.
Like a little something. Like I have gone to somewhere like that where it's like quick and I put like something underneath my eyes. Yep. I'll put a little bit of like not lipstick, but I'll do like tinted lip gloss. Yeah. And then a little blush. So yeah, that makes sense.
So what can we take away from all of this?
Wait, can I say something really quick about the mental health part?
Yep.
Okay, so I am not a valid source on this, but I had heard that in Cuba they don't do advertisements.
Okay.
Okay. And that people in Cuba are more likely to like rank themselves high on like their looks.
Oh.
Because they don't have that body
dysmorphia
like, expectation. Yeah. They don't have those expectations of like how you're supposed to look because there are no models showing, like what that might be like interesting to like research too, but I've heard that they're also like happier because of that, because they don't have those like feelings already about like, oh, I don't look as good as I should.
Interesting.
Which is not easy. Like,
no,
it's not easy when you have like when you're like talking about like beauty standards. If the beauty standard is like to be a size 2 and you can't be a size 2, that kind of stings a little. I'm talking for myself,
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm like I've been like smaller sizes obviously, but I'm like I don't think I've ever been a size 2. I think when I was like 12.
I don't understand fashion sizes as a female. Because like I'm like when I made the transition from like juniors clothing to like women's clothing, it's very different, right? So like a size 2 in women's clothing is not the same in juniors. And I really don't know what size I am. And I even had a business where I was making women's clothing, and it's so confusing.
I worked in the clothing industry for a little bit, and like even men had that situation because they would be like, well, if I go and buy slacks in this place and I'm like a size 32, but if I go to this place I'm a 34, and then here I'm 36, and they'd be like, what's going on? And it's like, I remember they talk about this during training, and they say that every company has their like average sizes. So like they pick how much they're gonna like. Oh. So it's not really like everyone's the same.
Okay. So the takeaway of this episode is beauty standards and fashion trends. Where do they come from? And are they cultural? Are they systematic? They change, they evolve, they reflect our values and what we prioritize. They shape the media and economics in ways that we can't even fathom. But they're not fixed. They'll always change.
But it's like insane too, because I'm just kind of mind blown by this.
I'm so glad.
Okay, good. So we didn't plan the episode. Like she has a plan and she's like teaching me, but I'm here like mind blown. Like right now I'm just like, oh my gosh, like even the cultural stuff, right? I'm like, who decided this? And then it's like the amount of influence. Like I get it, we have influencers now, but there's screens in our face all the time. So I can understand that.
But back in the day,
how did we convince men to wear wigs, white wigs that are like, you know what I mean? Like, how did we even get to these moments? How did we do the foot thing where we're like, okay, you need tiny little feet. Let's start, doing this process. I don't want to describe it because it's rough. But it's like, let's go ahead and do this. And then let's have everybody. Like, I'm like, the amount of people that were impacted by these decisions. It's like, how did it get so popular?
Yeah, I even
Word
heard...
of mouth?
Honestly, it has to be word of mouth. That's where, like, all of our stuff comes from.
Yeah. That's mind-blowing. This was really, like...
It just opened a can of worms.
It's a whole can of worms. But it's good. It's really good.
They just keep coming.
Yeah, and then you can't, right? Obviously, you need to make more money because of consumerism.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, we need to keep changing the trend. Mm-hmm. So then who's up there, like, making the big decisions? Like, you were talking about that movie, which is an amazing movie, by the way.
I think they're coming out with a second one.
I know, I heard that too. I'm really excited about it.
Me too.
But it's like, yeah, who's making all these decisions to be like, okay, well, they even have, like, the seasons, right? Like, winter you wear these colors and fall these colors, and
yeah, I specifically remember, like, last year I was on TikTok, dare I say, and they were like, there was a girl who was asking, like, what are we wearing for winter shoes? And she's like, I don't want, like, snow boots, right? Mm-hmm. So she's like, what are we wearing? Mm-hmm. And people were saying, like, oh, we're bringing back the low booty and also the over the knee boots.
Oh, I love those.
Me too, but it all comes back around. Every trend.
It does. My mom has said that a lot. Mm-hmm. Just like, this isn't original. This is like a rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. It can go on forever.
Wow.
Yeah, hopefully you learned something.
I did. I learned too many things. I'm digesting. I'm like, it's like uploading the data, still loading. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Whether or not these are valid sources, debatable.
We'll post some links.
Yeah, but honestly, I just think it comes to show, like, what pop culture in our society has done.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Good job, Harley.
Thank you. Yeah. I like it. I also dyed my hair black.
Yeah. How was your week?
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. It's been a lot. But everyone's going through a lot, so it's fine.
Yeah. Some things put things into perspective.
Yeah. I have a concert tomorrow.
Ooh,
I'm an avid concert goer. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not tomorrow. It's next Wednesday.
Oh, that's sad. It just moved the whole week.
Yeah.
Okay, so but where are you going?
Downtown Denver somewhere. I'm going to see In Her Own Words, which is a band, next week.
Oh, you're going to see In Her Own Words?
That's the band name, yeah.
That's a really good name, actually.
You have penguins on your socks.
I do. You have pugs again.
Yeah, that's kind of like the theme, I guess.
I love that.
Well, thank you for listening to me go on and on about the fashion industry.
It was great. I really enjoyed learning about it.
Good. It's honestly fascinating, and it's crazy to think just like how much culture and the times have like taken hold of fashion and what we think is beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And our perspectives. I love that. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you guys were thinking it.
And we said it. Tune in next week for who knows what we got planned.
Yeah, who knows?
Adios.
Valid source.
Valid source.